Good morning, my friends, or good afternoon. I guess it is afternoon here today. This is the Fat Man GM's continuing revisitation of Iron Crown Enterprises MERP, or Middle Earth role-playing game system. Came out in the to late 80s and carried through to the early 90s. This particular one is a player's adventure module, atypical of ICE. It is actually a bit more of a source book with adventures tucked into the back, although they do list it as an adventure module. The cover is one of the few that they put out that has a very flimsy paper-like material. One I don't think very many people cared for it because they did a better. Either they had a poor quality of paper, or they did change their mind and went back to whatever it was they were using before. Because more of the, excuse me, like I said, afternoon, and here I'm yawning still. What do you do? The material is not the best. They do have their typical high graphic color maps and stuff that's to be expected, as we've come to love and cherish with this particular company when they were at the height of their business. As you can see, the module itself, the first half of it is broken up into sections to describe basically a significant sized town in the wilderness called Strayhold. It also goes by a number of other names. It's located in the East Bight, which, if you're familiar with the southern Mirkwood, it looks like a big chunk of somebody taking a bite out of the southern eastern side of the great forest, and there's some steps and a little bit of a plateau going on in there. And at several points in history, some moderately successful human settlements were created there, and I think there was at least one nasty kingdom that held sway for a short, brief time. It's kind of a nudge and an elbow and a nudge to giving the player something more familiar to D&D than to Middle Earth, because it is not a wholly created location. It is substantially the ventures and accounts and modules and stuff that connect to the East Bight, for the most part, are fictional. Now, that is not to say that Tolkien didn't create some stuff there, because I believe that during the Kinstrife period, when there was a civil war in Gondor, the king, the rightful king, his wife originates from the region in this neck of the woods. He actually flees back there temporarily until he's able to raise an army of Northmen and holdouts from Arnor to help him retake the throne, or make his attempt at retaking the throne of Gondor. In this particular case, we're dealing with a number of mini adventures and stories specifically geared toward this particular town. According to the back map, it says roughly 900 people. So for a community in Middle Earth, that is significantly large. It's on par with Dale or the Lake Town. So for sizes, in my understanding. So they call it, let's see, miles south and east of the Great Forest, just out from the East Bight, situated town of most remarkable nature. It's called by many names, few of which are complimentary, and is the home of most unsavory lot of brigands and merchants ever to assemble in Wilderland. This is the Burr Lawless or Lawless Hold, so-called Strayhold at Dorrunen. Others call it Firetown for its undying torchlight, nightlife, and nightlife. Its light illuminates the nearby halls of Rovinian's shattered steppe. Along the Minon Ra, as long as any major trade route, there have always been a wandering folk of rogues, blah, blah, blah. So basically, this is a kind of a rogues town. It's a collection of clans that coexist for the benefit of each other. They understand that they can't overly milk the common people or the citizens if they expect to continue to have a town. I mean, at the end of the day, if all you have is rogues and bandits and cast-offs, you're not going to have much of a town, and it degenerates further from there and no longer serves the purposes of the creators and those who have reason and power to want it to stay maintain the status quo. So you have this a variety of quote clans that make up the bulk of the politics here. The Clan of Strays, the Rogues Clan, the New Mark. The Wagons Clan. So, for example, the Clan of Strays is basically a collection of beggars and confidence men and con artists who prey on the goodwills and the good nature of normal people or regular people to get by. Basically, they're not out to thieve. They're not out stealing per se, but they are panhandling and in a lot of cases they have the means to work. They just choose not to. So they've got together and created their own guild, if you will. In this case, they call it a clan. The Rogues Clan is your traditional assassin thief guild. All of these work with the understanding that while a large number of people belong to these groups, the majority of them are spread out in other communities across the north and into the south to some degree, and for reasons unknown to me specifically, that they rotate in and out of this location, mostly as they put it in here, so they don't get overly well known in the community that they're working over, so to speak. And they go into some detail on that stuff. Toss that in. We got the regular merchant people, the market. We also have a narc mage who's got a tower and he's a servant of Sauron or a worshiper of Sauron and is mentoring or teaching one or two. It's hard to call. I'm not sure why they call them off the top of my head. You know what I'm talking about. Jesus, the word's sticking in my head. Then we got a whole chapter or subchapter on Fortune Square, the gambling establishments, the entertainment, the after-hours entertainment locations that are typical in these kind of places. Night Singer's Way, undoubtedly most sordid area in any town located in Western Rovarian. Contrary to the laws of the Dunedain and Northmen, merchants around the square traffic in human flesh. Blah blah blah. The Woodman's Mark, layout of the Old Mark, the Mystic's Hollow, Flagon Lane, the Strays Clan Hall. Go into some details about their individual clan halls, the Stray House, the Shadows, the Worm Knight, Red Break. Here, the Strayhold's wealthiest residents live in well-built, comfortable red brick row houses. Leaders of the Lowcams and their other brigand brotherhoods, prosper brothel and tavern owners, and a few mercenary captains live here in high style. Loose Jack's Row, the Rogues Market, the excursions to the City of Strays. This is where we get into the adventures. Let's see, the setting adventure as a whole stray, though we'll probably focus on the lower half of the town. General description, the task is simple enough. The players must merely exchange the scholar's cash for the bookseller's tome. The remainder of their time as city beggars will be spent seeing the sights of the exciting new town. That is, at least if everything goes smoothly. So, somebody hires them to help give them to run an errand for them, and the locals try to take advantage of it. Either they steal it, or they con them out of it, or what have you, and then your adventurers have to cope and deal with it and work through the problem. Then you have the challenge, theft, the split up, witnesses, random encounter table, blah, blah, blah. The second adventure is called the Raid on the Clan Hall of Rogues. Sounds typical. You're going to basically, your group's hired to raid the local thieves guild. Look how that works out. We got our nice little floor map of their particular holdout, and we detailed room by room descriptions and so on and so forth, and who you're likely to encounter here and so on and so forth. And you got the task. The adventurer's task is retrieval of the horn or simply the acquisition of loot. In either case, the party must get into and out of the guild hall as quickly as possible, bringing with them as much profit as possible without getting whacked. And then imagine how head for the hills or head for Gondor or something, because you're not going to be likely to be able to stick around town for long. The town's large, but not that large. And then the castle Lurdoth is the third adventure, which is 6 chapter 6.0. You're dealing with the mage at that point. And Telman the apprentice. That's the word I was looking for, the apprentice. We got the castle layout and so forth. You discover this guy's secrets or plunder his stuff or whatever, and try not to get destroyed. The destruction of the mage is obviously a task directly at hand. This will in turn accomplish a greater good of bringing the city itself into chaos, which should result in its dissolution. Both of these sit again in larger pictures. So I'm guessing that somebody hired the group, whether it's the White Council or members thereof, or the stewards of Gondor, or perhaps the King of Gondor, depending on when you choose to, what timeline you choose to establish this module in. And there you go. You get a nice color. It's a nice color map of the town itself. Basically, a series of town adventures set in a fairly well-developed area and with a lot of color. Right there, you have it. Brigands of Mirkwood.